2. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus.
What's up, guys?
Yo, and Bobby Jonas.
Hey, I'm back.
Welcome back, Brad Wren.
Hey, new season and all the same issues.
David Hall.
Oh no, it's Pocono.
Pocono. On today's show, we'll cover some concerns about the Season 3 build, see if these top 7 races are on your list. More NASCAR 25 information is dropped. Help elevate your cable management. Help you if your Moza wheelbase has started vibrating, and hopefully answer 2 questions. What does the future of sim racing look like, and does safety rating even matter?
That's right, Mike. And remember that you can follow along with us on your PC or your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com. Select the show notes. We hope to see you there.
Before we jump into the video that we have first listed on the script, Bobby has noticed an issue that's been coming up with the standings in the UI. First tell us about that, and then we have an update from Brad on it.
So I went to check the NIS standings before the race, and I noticed something weird. The guy who is leading is a Division I driver, but he's only started 2 races or 2 weeks, and has 241 points, and that's the overall NIS lead. I'm like, that can't be right. So Chris had mentioned to look at the sorting issue on the countries because he saw something like it. It's actually sorted by country. So it's in alphabetical order, and that's how it goes down the list. And the guy who is first overall points-wise doesn't show up until 1002 because he's in the United States.
Are we surprised? I mean,
this is a very random. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, my question.
It's just the software is just sorting by the wrong column. Pretty simple.
But what did they do to break it?
I don't. It's not just the UI. The app is screwed as well. So, like, if you go and look at the NIS standings, you can have the filter set correct for Division 2, but it does not filter by division at all. I think it's doing all the divisions together.
So the question is, what caused this? Because when I went to look at the points Wednesday night, they were fine.
The app was working fine last night.
Probably a typo somewhere deep in some database.
So I did find a post on the forums that says the staff has acknowledged that it's an issue. So it's obviously something that's happening randomly because, again, I've been on the UI, I want to say yesterday, and I think when I checked them, it was fine. But, yeah, we'll see. It's just kind of frustrating. I mean, you get done with you take NIS, for example. I had the opportunity to only run 2 races. So, I have an idea where I'm at after Wednesday night. So after the Thursday races, I always look to try to see, did I fall back any, or am I kind of going to stay where I'm at? Well, it's frustrating when you can't get an update on where you're at standings wise.
All right. Well, that first video we're talking about is a video featuring the new King of One Make ? Lovely clickbait title. And it has to do with the 296 challenge. Brad, this is kind of in your wheelhouse, if not Williams. You are the GT3 guys.
Yeah, video here by Bo Albert. First time I've seen stuff from him. We got a couple of his videos on the script tonight, but yeah, he just kind of walks through the car talking about, just the uniqueness of it, some of the challenges of it. I've gotten the car. I have not raced it. I have turned quite a few laps with practice. I think the car is a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be it'll be a good challenging car, for a spec series. So I think it's good. I think it's easier than the Porsche Cup car. It's much easier to drive than that. I wish it wasn't a D series, but that's just me. But no, he gives a good reviews. Like I said, the car's it's a ton of fun to drive.
Now, is it fair to call it a GT3 or GT3-like car?
It's like, so it does not have all the aero, doesn't have all the downforce. It's got a much larger motor, produce a lot more horsepower. Has some level of traction control, not full GT3. ABS. Some of the aero is a little bit different on it as well. So yeah, it's good. I mean, that's what we see in these spec series. So you've got like the Ferrari Challenge series. You've got there's a Lamborghini series, the Super Trofeo. There's a McLaren series now. So you've got a lot of these spec series that have come up around the world, and it's a good way to work your way up to a GT3, which I think is that's kind of where they're putting it in the ladder system here in iRacing.
All right. Well, what always comes after a build week is patches and hot fixes. First thing we have, Season 3, Patch 1. They did some work on the paint kit. They improved the camera view centering behavior for the helmet and fire suit. And they also fixed an issue where the camera crew would reset the camera pitch whenever loading a new car. Simulation. They worked on some iRacing or some AI rate. I can't even. Well, bleh. AI racing. I worked on the AI a little bit. The connection black flag rule now may be enabled in hosted sessions. That's interesting. Fixed an issue where popping visual artifacts were happening on some 3D curves. All right. They also have ride height rules are now specific to each available tire type. So that has to do with the cheat that happened last week. And all the iRacing setups have been adjusted.
I was just going to say, before we go past that, is that why some of the sets were all broken that we were trying for that we had gotten before this patch then for Le Mans?
Yeah, you're having to adjust the ride heights essentially.
I was wondering why the one night I raced it was fine, and then the next night it wasn't working.
They renamed Atlanta to Echo Park Speedway and added night lighting.
Yeah, I picked up a bunch of night lighting that was left off in the refresh tracks.
So most of the cars, it was updating the tire type issue, and then there's been a lot of updates to iRacing setups as well. A second functional scoreboard has been added to the front of the grandstand at Bristol. Crowds have been adjusted to fit the stands better at Darlington. And you already mentioned Atlanta. They fixed an issue with the popping of visuals at Homestead. Halo support has been added to pit lights for Indy. Well, this is a pretty big patch.
I was going to say the Talladega ones removed some fences that had occupied some picnic tables. They are now available for guests.
I like the Martinsville one. A fan was found on a roof. He's been asked to leave the premises, and this was not allowed.
I was gonna say, is that like the Richmond guy that sat on top of the fence?
Yes.
They need to come up with something clever to say when somebody's just floating.
It would have been funnier if it was Dale's character that accidentally got put on the building.
I'm sorry, sir. You can't stand there. You're violating the rules of physics. So they added night lighting to Phoenix.
And Iowa and a bunch of them. Vegas.
Yeah, a lot of the refresh tracks they'd said in the original release was missing the night lighting.
I'm glad that Portland's removed some floating cars.
All right. And then they mentioned working on period correct restarts. This was an issue with the 87 cars, which are supposed to have lap cars on the inside, but is currently causing a bug, which is causing the caution to stay permanently on. They have, as of The first post, they said they would switch it back from the new double file restart once they fix the issue. And then I can see that it says updated 616. Did they fix it, Brad?
I don't know.
No, no. This is a problem. This is Gen 4 and 87s, and they're using the new style restarts with Lucky Dog and Wave Around and all that, lap cars to the rear, and it should be where lead lappers to the outside, lap cars to the inside, and they get to fight for their lap back with the leaders.
Did the Lucky
Yes.
Dog come at the end of that era, of the Gen 4 era?
Michael Waltrip, Aaron's 1, 2, 3. Remember all that?
Yeah, but they had that Toyota in that body style at the end of that era, so it would have been late 2000s.
Yeah, it's because Dale Jarrett was sitting sideways in the track.
Now, I think they still, traditionally with the 87s, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure my listeners will correct me, they had it just how I said, where lap cars to the inside, but they still left the Lucky Dog on, even though, they didn't have Lucky Dogs back then.
Well, you don't need the lucky dog if you got the opportunity to restart up front.
Yeah, but I think that's probably just to encourage people to stay in the races, because it probably is discouraging once you get a lap down and trying to get it back. If there's no opportunities to get it back, it's kind of like when you run Indy cars on the oval.
Yeah, but there's
Well, that was an old thing.
Well, yeah, you just have to be faster than the leader. Sometimes it's harder than you think.
Everybody gets a participation trophy.
Come on now, Brad. Stop swinging your cane at the crowd, or at the clouds.
Just get off my lawn.
Okay, let's talk Season 3 2025 contests. There's a bunch of them. I don't think we're going to read them all. And do we need to beat the dead horse about how do they know if you're using trading paints or not?
Oh, come on. I wanted to ask the question. You didn't even let me get to it.
It's
But
at the bottom of the post as usual.
There is some controversy in the comments a little bit, where the one contest from Falcon Tires, somebody pointed out in the Falcon Tire material, it says to be eligible, you must be located in Europe or continental U.S. And so the question is everyone else not eligible then, or?
I feel like that's not fair.
That first note at the bottom. Sorry, go Bobby.
I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory, but okay.
That first note at the bottom just doesn't make sense, because even if you disable trading paints, if you have a trading paint uploaded, everybody else that has trading paints is not going to see the iRacing paint.
That's why it says you must disable trading paints and liveries on your car. Your car. So you need to go in and delete all your liveries.
In graphics, they just need to have a tab where you could click that, and so you don't have to worry about having. I guess you just turn trading paints off, right? That's all you.
I'm going to call. Look, I want to call out. We need these contests to come in line with trading paints. We need some integration here, because I'm avoiding this with a 10-foot pole, these stupid contests. Why? Because I don't want to mess up my trading paint stuff. That's more important. So why would I, enter these contests and disable all my trading paints crap and delete my paints off of their website? No way. They need to figure out a way to integrate it. So, hey, if I run the whatever logo, the Falcon Tires on my paint, and it's in trading paints and it's in the sim or wherever it needs to be, I'm eligible. It should be simple.
They don't have any problem deleting the paint jobs when they do their replays, or like when they do the top 10 files. Those don't have paint jobs on them sometimes. So why can't it just be the fact that it should be just like a piece of data that's showing that you have it on the car? It should be in the actual data that goes is sent to iRacing. It should Trading Paints is its own separate thing being sent to cover up that stuff.
Well, the point of the contest is what the sponsors want is for other drivers to see that logo, right? So that's the point. I think my point is that I just don't know how are they going to know. Are they actually checking Trading Paints? Because they would have to be checking Trading Paints. But
So they have a good relationship with Trading Paints, and they probably can get access to that data really easy.
I just don't know why they couldn't be like in the like they have in the graphics tab where you can turn off the iRace or the Trading Paints number or the special number. Why couldn't you do the disable paint jobs in there so it's only iRacing paints? Then you have no problem. It's just a quick check mark.
I mean, Trading Paints has its own paint shop now. Why don't they just work with them?
Well, the real question is, does safety rating mean anything? What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, we got a post here in the forums from JD Rodriguez saying getting to a D0.0 safety rating should mean something. Says I understand that the purpose of safety rating is only to allow us to progress through different series, but outliers like these are increasingly common and they face no consequences at all since the most popular Formula series is D class. Says I'm not asking for race bans or sending back to rookies. The guys who work at iRacing know more than me and should have better ideas. Just think it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, kind of skimmed through this forum thread, and for me, it's just I just don't think safety rating matters at all anymore. I don't think people care. There's no consequence to losing a license class anymore.
Only if you're trying to stay in it. Like, didn't we have this conversation just a couple minutes ago with Chris on our team? He lost his license and he couldn't race one of the races, wasn't he? Wasn't somebody talking about that?
He was close to losing it, but you only have to run a couple of races to get it right back.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, that's the only thing where it really feels like a consequence. The rest of the time, Brad, you're right. It isn't a consequence.
But I mean,
the consequence used to be you're out for the season.
Yeah, I mean, if your safety rating gets down to a 0, there ought to be some consequence. Either you get bumped. I mean, it ought to be an immediate loss of your license or have to do something. The whole purpose of safety rating is in the name of it. Safety rating. How safe are you driving?
I love that idea. Put them as a rookie. Like, look, if you get to 0-0-0, like some of these examples in this forum thread, immediate, like you're stripped of all your licenses, rookie. Now, what does that really mean? You can only run rookie series. You can't run NIS. You can't run A Open. You can't run your normal stuff.
What it also should do is then it should penalize them until they have to wait until the end of the season to graduate too.
Like it used to be.
Yeah.
But this is not going to really fix all the issues we're having in NIS because everybody there is not in danger of losing their A. Everybody in there is A license anyway. They're not anywhere near losing a C license, and it's just really hard to even lose your license, A license, once you get up there.
Has anyone on the team gone down to a B license because of NIS yet?
No.
I've gotten close a couple times.
I don't know. It's just the safety rating thing. It's frustrating. Like I run one of the overlays I run. I have competitor safety ratings listed because I want to see. I race people somewhat based on what their safety rating is. If there's a guy in there with a 1.2 safety rating, I'm going to give the guy a little more room because I don't trust him.
Yeah, it is a good indicator of that, right? It is an indicator. Yes.
Well, mine would get down to 1 or 2 at Martinsville, and then I just have to pick an A race and go run in the back and just farm it back up and give up the I rating temporarily.
Look, I mean, it does have a place. Look at this last season as I tried to get my B dirt road license and my B Formula license. I had to do MPR races. I had to do like 4 IndyCar races, and I had to get my safety rating up to a certain amount. And so it does mean something to progress, and that was actually a nice little project I did. But what you're talking about, Brad, is the degression. If you get really bad on safety rating, it needs to be more punishment.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the Coke series. What do we got? We got penalty points. Formula One, you have penalty points. If you drive like a fool, there's some punishment for what you
only
do.
have penalty points on Formula One if you're not British. It's only when you're British you get no penalty points.
Wait, I didn't know Max Verstappen was British.
No, he's been getting points. They don't give points to the people that aren't, or that are British. They don't give points to them.
So you said it backwards.
I did.
Oh, Canada.
It's been a long day.
Well, to wrap the issue, I think this guy's case is really more that whatever series he's wanting to run should be a higher safety rating overall. But it kind of sent us down a different rabbit hole. But let's swing around now to this video. We have the 2025 Season 3 video development blog video, and I assume it's just going to go through the development blog, same old stuff we've talked about for the last few weeks.
Yeah, nothing to see here. We've already talked about it, but it's just a neat way to absorb it. If you guys don't like reading, the video is a great way. Just play it on your phone while you're making dinner, and you got something to listen to. This next one, David, I'm going to take because this one gets me a little bit. We have Michael Guest, King Cook, Coke drivers and former Coke drivers. Chris Overland as well, who a former Coke driver, commenting on X about the Gen 4 physics issues. And I'm going to read some of these off. Michael's Guest says, crazy how iRacing put more draft in the Gen 4 than the next gen. I mean, it's pack race even at Charlotte for 40 laps. It's the only thing I think that needs change, but I really needs changed before people lose interest. And Chris Overland went on to say, instead of complaining about iRacing's Gen 4 drafting, here's 3 laps of telemetry of Jeff Gordon going through the field in a 2003 Aaron's 499. Watch what happens when his gap to Mayfield is multiple car lengths. So he shows a real video of a real race from that period and how the draft kind of works. And it's really fascinating, kind of delving into the comments of this X post and seeing what people are saying about this. I've run a few races in the Gen 4 at Talladega and Daytona so far, maybe 3 or 4. And I don't know. It's hard for me to tell if it's right or not.
Well, this is a little bit of a mislogic because drafting at Charlotte when you're at full horsepower versus drafting when you're under the restrictor plate are going to be totally different ball games anyway. I don't even think they're going to be the same body style, right?
What is he? What is the Kane Cook complaining about it? Do they actually have reduced horsepower at Charlotte, or are they just feeling that way?
They're saying that the draft is simply too strong at the 1.5 miles.
Right.
Okay, so the showing a video from Talladega doesn't make much sense because it's a totally different style of racing.
It's a whole different rules package.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
They have nothing to do with each other at all. And I can tell you this: even Junior is aware of this because he mentioned it today or yesterday on one of the podcasts, talking about how he's aware that people are complaining about the drafting in the Gen 4 car.
Well, if anyone's going to help them get it right, I'm guessing he'll be the guy.
Well, I mean, I'm going to cut iRacing some slack here. They just came out, not even a week ago?
Yeah, but what drivers from that era do they have testing? Do they have Bobby Labonte working on it? I mean, people like that. That's who I want telling us if this is right or not.
That era.
Hopefully they'll fix it soon.
Because that era was never about actually pushing for at all. It was more of the bubble that was created between the bumpers that pushed them around, right?
Yeah, this is before they learned they could tandem draft, right?
They would do push drafting though. They would do bump drafting, but and then they'd get a bad bump every once in a while because it was more like slam drafting back then. But again, you're talking about two different packages. At Charlotte, they're not restricted, so it's not even the same car.
It feels like different cars at the two tracks, David, because at Charlotte you have 900 horsepower, but when I get in at Talladega, it's 550. And it like I said, it feels like two different cars.
You have a different body.
Yeah.
But do you
But I guess-
actually? But do you is the draft so good down the straightaway that it feels like you're still stuck in a pack at Charlotte? Like I haven't raced any of those tracks with cars.
That's
it
what they're
feels
saying.
like it feels like regular Gen 7 drafting. So we're able to go 3 wide pretty easy in these Gen 4s at Talladega. And the top is working the best and the bottom usually fails.
Okay,
Okay, but you just said Talladega. and
You're
they're
talking about Talladega.
Charlotte.
They're talking about Charlotte.
at Charlotte,
Yeah.
is the draft over exaggerated at Charlotte?
I don't know. I can't tell.
What tracks have you done that aren't Daytona or Talladega?
Just Charlotte. That's all that's going this week.
Okay. Well, just because it's really hard because they're not. I mean, the front straightaway would be you get a good draft off of them, but the back stretch, I don't know. I would have to see what it is, but I think it's a little exaggerated to call it the 550 package at Charlotte with it, but I don't know. Maybe those guys race closer because of their higher I rating too.
Well, I'll take their word for it unless I try it myself.
I'm glad to hear that Dale Jr. is aware of it. So that means hopefully it'll get fixed.
Next, we have a video featuring what he considers the top 7 races coming to season 3. So we have GT3 at Daytona, Majors 24, 6 Hours of the Glen, Spa 24, IMSA at Daytona. That one will be fun. Portimao 1000 and the Indy 6 Hour. I think we'll be doing most of these.
The Portimao is interesting. I think that's with the is it the GTEs?
Really?
The older GTEs, that actually would be a cool race.
Yeah, I believe it is.
They're actually bringing that car back. That's not even an active car anymore. Are you looking it up?
I am.
All right. The GT3s are actually at Daytona this week. I know a lot of the guys that only run Daytona are enjoying taking a few runs at that.
All right,
In
so the Portimao 1000s, HPD, GT1, and GT2.
Oh, so it's the old cars.
Yeah, sorry.
Or old, well, I mean, even older than the GTE. So I know I've already put in a pre-queue time for the Majors 24 this weekend. We are really slow. There's so many fast drivers on there. Greg is about to run in a little bit, and then we'll probably after we get through that, we'll figure out what we're going to do if we're going to be able to put 1 or 2 teams together for 6 hours. Spa will be easy because it's all one class.
How is has Tom put a time in yet?
I'm not aware.
He's running out of time.
I think we got till
8 o'clock tomorrow night?
late Friday.
I'd guess-
Yeah, it is Thursday, isn't it? So yeah.
I'd guess so. Tom runs a lot of stuff.
All right. Did anybody actually watch the video? I just read the list.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. He kind of just goes through some of the reasons for it, highlights of each of them. So, I mean, it's pretty good.
It's a pretty good list. I mean, those are some good series and track combinations with cars. I mean, obviously they're all road centric.
Well, look, for those iRacers that only run the 12-week seasons, get involved in these special events that we're talking about. I mean, that's one of the beauties of iRacing is the special event calendar and trying to participate in that. Especially if you're a loner, get into on an endurance race where there's multiple people on a car, try to get on a team. there's so many people in the forums grouping up into teams, and all you have to do is just post in the forums or reply to one of the posts, and people will just invite you onto a team just like that.
Yeah, that's the most exciting. I mean, I think that's the best part of this is when you take 3 or 4 guys and you spend the next 6, 12, or 24 hours together. Racing's a lot of fun.
What would be the next full race for NIS? Is it Brickyard? Are they doing the Brickyard this year?
Not sure.
All right, next up we have a air grief issue, and when I take a look at this, it looks more to me like netcode than rear air actually getting the guy loose.
Well, this is our second example of this. We had one last week of rear air grief, which basically in the Gen 7, if you get up underneath the guy's back end, basically they lose traction and spin out. And that's kind of what this shows. But like David says, could be netcode. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it looks like netcode. I mean, I think that's what I said last week as well. And yes, Greg, it's the Brickyard 400.
TN4.
Yeah, he doesn't like get under and stay behind him. The guy comes up, closes on the guy, and is coming way up the track. So I'd say I'm 90% sure that's netcode.
The biggest problem is whenever you get these ones that people are complaining about, you only get the one replay. Where does it show the other guy's car in relation to where the car is when he comes up on him too? Like, it'd be nice to have that other person's replay to compare with it too.
Yeah, side by side, even in sync, would be cool.
Yeah, because the signal is. Thinking how complicated this game is, or this sim is, trying to put all these cars on the track and have them move around without encroaching on each other and causing more problems than they already do.
Well, it's predictive. I mean, that's again, Greg, you're in Canada, you're racing against somebody in Brazil or the other side of the world. I mean, it's trying to predict where your car is through lag and everything else. So I think it's pretty good. Yes, there are times where it's worse than others, but I mean, it's pretty good for if you think about the amount of distance between all of us when we're racing.
Well, if you think about where we came from, when you actually had to hook just a cord up between machine stacks, it was the only way to race.
Well, you go back to when we used to do this with dial-up, and you're racing and guys are blinking and flashing and everything else. It was horrible.
I think there's still some people on iRacing that use dial-up.
All right, Bobby, this one's got to be yours. Trading paints. How many Gen 4 paints were uploaded in 24 hours, and how many of them were yours?
I actually haven't uploaded any yet. Most of the ones I've done are for team guys or my stuff. Honestly, I think that number's a little low for what I would have figured from what I'm seeing in my feed on Facebook from friends.
Though. That's a lot of paint.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys that had stuff fairly ready to go.
Is it just me, or does that 86 car that's on that thing there brings back such nostalgia from NR 2003?
Well, it should.
Well, Papyrus.
It's just like, I feel like that's one of the most known paint jobs that I remember more than anything in gaming.
It's probably more iconic than some of the actual NASCAR paint schemes.
So there was 9,363 paints uploaded in the first 24 hours after release.
I mean, we're probably pretty close to having a full 2003 season with the stuff I've seen in our groups.
So that's 6.5 uploads a minute.
I'm surprised it didn't crash the site.
But now let's think about that, though. There's 2 models per Chevy per Ford. So how many of those are just 2 different variants of the same car?
Good point.
Yeah, but even as you said, Bobby, it's not just a cut and paste. You do have to make some adjustments.
It is. I also figured out some ways to help yourself around that a little bit.
So wait, Bobby, you finished my paints, which you just told me before the show. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 paints, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm uploading 2. So you're saying this 9,300 is really 40, 100 or something, and it's everyone's doing 2.
It could be. That's not necessarily accurate, but I would imagine there's a lot of doubles.
My question is, do they have different file? I haven't looked at the Gen 4 file number. Is it a different type
naming?
You have to add SS to the end of the super speedway car.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because it's kind of like when you do like a chrome paint or a special paint type thing too.
Well, do you have to do that, or does it trading paint automatically do it for you when you're doing the uploads?
No, Trading Paints should have it set up.
Trading Paints will sort it like any other car.
But you have to do the SS when you're editing it, and when you're I guess when you're trying to upload it, as you're painting it.
Yeah, I always do just to keep them separated.
To look at it in the car viewer, you got to have the naming right. Once you to upload it to Trading Paints, you're just going to pick the drop down probably for whether it's like traditional or League, IMSA, or whatever. You can pick the drop down. Trading
Paints will add the right designation to it once it downloads on your computer.
Are you still having issues with the car viewer?
Yeah, as we speak. It's not automatically refreshing. It's the buttons between stock car and super speedway stock car constantly keep disappearing. So I got to close it out, reopen it, and then try to get it to refresh.
Is it just happening with the Gen 4? I haven't seen any issues, but I haven't messed with the Gen 4.
I want to say I don't know because I've only been working on Gen 4s since they've came out.
Well, I'm going to skip an article because this is related, and then we'll jump back up. The next one is the Gen 4 car the craziest car in iRacing? And it's a video. And tell us a little bit about it, Brad.
Yeah, this is another video by, what's his name again?
Bo Albert.
So, talking about the Gen 4, he's primarily running this on road courses, and just the amount of horsepower, the help, the brakes. I mean, it's just, it's kind of walking through what this car is like on the road courses. And look, if it's like it should be, yes, it should be a handful. But probably at the end of the day, probably easier to drive than the next gens.
Well,
point and shoot.
My guess is this car, the reason it's like that is because it isn't. They had another body for the road courses. They would have a 50-50 chassis for the road courses, wouldn't it be?
Yes.
I told people in the stream, it almost feels like driving a boat. You know how you're on a power boat in the water in the lake, and you throttle down 100%, and you're just wah. That's what it feels like at Charlotte. You're going down that front stretch, and you're just all in on the power, man. And then when you hit the brakes, the whole thing just drops. Like the front end drops a foot. It's crazy.
Well,
if you look at that car going around the track, you could tell it's definitely set up for a left-handed oval track.
I was just gonna say it's cockeyed like crazy.
Yeah, our road courses cars never looked like that.
It would be. They were all symmetrical too. They wouldn't have the twisted body types either, right?
No, not like that.
No,
I mean you might skew it if you had one track that was predominantly left or right, but not to that point.
But they did have the smaller brakes, smaller tires, extra horsepower.
They did, but at the same time too, you had, there was a lot more. There was a lot more body roll. There was a lot more movement in the chassis and the body of the car. If you think about the next gen, it is a solid plank basically. It does not move. Jump in the B car at a road course, and you'll see how much travel you've got in the car and how much movement there is in the chassis, and I think that helps. I think that's one reason why we all struggle so much with the next gen, because it's just a solid basic platform.
It's just vacuum to the ground. It's crazy.
But
I couldn't drive at Daytona. I did it once and was done.
The next gen car has the reason they don't do that anymore is because they have the independent rear suspension. These cars did that. The only way to get them to do what they're doing was to have the bodies twist like that.
I'm not asking for a third template though. Don't take that the wrong way.
What? Oh, come on. For the 2 road courses that we raced a year, you don't want another plate?
Hey, back then, didn't the teams prepare a Sonoma car, though?
Yeah,
yes, you had a road course car. It would have been
Well,
you could take a short track car and turn it into a road course car. That's what the lower
you weren't
teams
going to
would
win
have
with it.
done. No, but that's what you would do.
that's why
But-
it got so expensive because of how many cars they had to build for certain.
That's the
things.
thing. We had a car for every track. It wasn't you built a car for short tracks or intermediate. You built a car for Talladega. You built a car for Phoenix. You built a car for Rockingham. You built a car for Sonoma. You built one for It was just that many cars. I mean, the days of Rusty Wallace midnight, just the one car, it was pretty rare at that point.
All right, well, now we'll jump back up the script and talk NASCAR 25 news. So this is a tweet from Mike Straw. NASCAR 25 track listing will come out in July, all tracks coming from iRacing. Regarding paint schemes, they expect 400 plus by the end of the game's life cycle. Each car will come with the official scheme at launch, with more to come as DLC.
I think I could talk about this. I actually have a paint scheme in the ARCA series that will be in the game. I really hope that they would use the standard templates and find a way that you can import stuff.
Like if you're on Xbox or something.
I feel like that would be more PC based than anything. It wouldn't be the next gen consoles to do it because they're not. It'd be more of just stamping stuff to make the
Sure.
what they did in like Forza and stuff like that. You would have to stamp things and make shapes out of and make logos by just doing shapes and stuff like that.
So
I would like
dumb
to see that
question.
though.
So why can't we just have Trading Paints Xbox integration?
It's,
It's a good question.
I think the problem with that would be the only thing I could see would be that, I mean, obviously Trading Paints governs themselves for not having explicit content on them, but I bet you Xbox or Microsoft and Sony wouldn't be able to trust a third party and it to be able to work on it.
That's a very good point.
Licensing problems, the
Sony
same
would
problems
want to-
iRacing has.
If you start doing a beer, like I would guess like, now we don't have beer and tobacco and anything like that.
Yes,
on
we
the
do.
car. Well, I guess we have beer on the cars, but we don't have tobacco in the car anymore.
We have marijuana.
I say you got marijuana.
So I'm guessing all those paint jobs won't exist in it.
No.
So
No, you won't see any kind of branding that's over 21.
So obviously they're not going to have Busch beer in this game.
We could have Ross across the hood.
Probably.
Yeah, I like it. Like Rusty. We had the Rusty car.
I'd imagine they'll just use one of his other paint schemes, like the jockey paint scheme.
See, I thought it was funny because I thought it was something we only had in Canada with our games when they used to only say Rusty and that when we used to get the games. But then I realized because I used to always go to the States and you could buy the Budweiser car as like diecast.
Well, depending on where you got it too.
Because we in Canada we only got the the beer ones. We could not get anything that had it easily.
So
Walmart, Target, and Kmart did not say anything with a 21 and up sponsor.
Yeah.
So one of the other things I think I heard is 192 licensed drivers is where they're at now between all the series.
It's a lot of paperwork.
But they said they weren't having any past ones. It's more relevant. It's all relevant people, right?
Well, if you got to think, if you've got Cup,
Xfinity, Truck,
ARCA.
times 43, 4 times 43.
Yeah, but you're gonna have like there's probably 50 drivers in Cup. They probably got more cars than actual spots in Cup.
I think a good DLC package would be the Cars Tour.
Does that mean we get to race as Cletus?
So the other news is I heard somewhere else that I think it was September is the target for release.
All right, so who's on the team is actually buying it?
Not me.
Nope.
I will.
I will be buying one of every copy.
Jeez, support iRacing real well.
No, it's more of the fact that SimWraps has designs in it. This will be the first time. Well, this will be the first time SimWraps has actual paint schemes that came with the game, not something that was added to it.
That's cool. So you think that iRacing had to do a contract with the team for the paint and the driver for the likeness and all that?
Oh yeah, I was in on the paperwork on all that stuff. Yep, yeah, I have tons of releases on it.
So they're separate. They're not governed like F1 would be by the FIA.
No, so every sponsor you see on one of those cars needed a sponsor release.
Okay, I was just gonna say because sometimes when you get the license, you take the license includes all of it.
Yeah, so I had to sign up some release paperwork and all that, allowing the logo to be used, allowing the team to have the, I mean, or they already do, but the paint scheme use and all that other stuff.
Did you ask them where the decimal point is with the zeros behind it or in front of it that came with that?
Yeah, we already knew that was coming out early when we did the paint scheme, so all that stuff got already figured.
Well, speaking of figures, I have some figures from the iRacing 2025 Season 2 stats. We had 43,000 unranked races. Add another zero onto that for ranked races, 443,000.
I'm going to stop you, David. That number is not actually correct because it doesn't take into account for NIS races.
Right, we figured that out.
Or any season that starts in Season 1 that runs a whole year.
True,
Yep.
true.
So there's what, 3 or 4 different series.
This is just the
12 weeks.
12-week Season 2 stuff, essentially.
Can we get just the NIS stat at all?
No.
Yes, you have to look under season. You have to look under Season 1.
So at the end of the season, you could get the total for everything.
Yeah, but you have to. Yeah, you just have to sort by Season 1.
And you'd have to just scrub it, the database for just those races if you wanted just NIS.
So look, the real numbers for me on this, there's a lot of numbers. Okay, they kind of all blend together. But the one that you really want to pay attention to is the blue one, 238,000 unique drivers. Wow. You know, it's just amazing how much it has grown since COVID. The number before COVID was way lower. It was another digit lower.
How long did it used to take to complete 1 billion miles?
Well, it took like 15 years to do the
first one, right?
10 years to almost do the first billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. And then the second was much faster, yes.
Well, now there's more than 250 million in a quarter of a year.
I was just going to say, after COVID, it shot up real fast.
Yeah, and we have a video that talks about that spike that we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, so amazing stats. All right, we've got a feature of merch saying, yes, we're all geeks. What do you think of this one, Greg?
Well, it's just a simple shirt, I guess. It's kind of... sorry, it's just loading here. It's just got a bunch of... I can't get... Mine stopped. Someone take over. Sorry, mine stopped loading.
Well, I'll go. So if you hit... this is just one of the shirts. So if you hit the homepage of this website, which is simracelife.com, you'll see they have a bunch of shirts. They call it the Father's Day collection. One of them's husband, dad, sim racer legend. I really think that's perfect for Brad. I like the one with the USA flag with a cockpit on it, on the USA flag, because I'm a flag guy. And it says, born to race, built for sim racing. And then there's another one, born to sim race, forced to work.
There you go. My wife got me this sim racing T-shirt. That's the one I need.
There you go.
Speaking of T-shirts,
David, how about
go
this
buy our
one?
merch.
David, the League of Extraordinary Sim Racers.
His would be the bearded sim racers.
Here you go, out of the one with the definition. Sim racing, noun. The art of spending a small fortune on a high-tech sim rig to pretend you're a professional race car driver, driving virtual cars from the comfort of your own home.
I like that, yeah. This one, World's Okayest Sim Racer.
We should get Brad the will trade wife for Simrig.
So the last one on the page is Rage Quit.
Justin.
We get that for Justin, Rage Quit?
Yeah.
No, Justin's gonna be. We'll buy anything if told to.
So the definition printed says a behavioral phenomenon, angry, explicit, laced exiting of a sim race after a perceived on-track injustice, often followed by a tossed headset and joining another server 10 minutes later.
I guess we could get a pair for Justin and for David.
Well, I will actually tell you, I got wrecked out. Right?
I know, and then you quit. Then you rage quit.
He just disappears.
He does. He just disappears.
It's just like, where'd Justin go? Oh, he wrecked out 10 laps ago. I'll say I wrecked out, and we'll see at least how much damage I got. Right? And then I'll say I'm out, and then I'll go fly a plane for a while. Or actually, when I got wrecked out of the A Open, I just went and started practicing some Le Mans in the rain because that is more fun than running at Pocono right now.
Did you guys see the alien shirt? Becoming an alien?
Some good ones, yeah.
Well, speaking of, we mentioned that there might have been some issues with some of Build 3, which every build is going to have issues, but this next video also mentions issues that need to be sorted out. And it's the last 59 seconds of Team Redline's stream. And you can see that I guess they have 3 drivers down at the bottom, and I don't know who the upper guy is, if he's just a host or he's one of the drivers. But he said, we're going to have to take a pause, take a break. We're going to have to sort some issues out, and then the stream just goes dead.
This is a stem from last week's controversy, or the week's controversy.
Yes, when they took wet tires up, which reset the right heights different. Then they went back to dries to race, and then Nim Cross came in and lowered the boom, and that's probably right the last minute of the stream as they realized that was happening.
So I was out last week, and when y'all were talking about this event, y'all spent a lot of time just saying, well, iRacing should do this, and iRacing should do that to prevent it. No. If they've got the rule that it says if you do something that's cheating, you find there's always going to be a crack somewhere. Then you can react to it. Everything doesn't have to be proactive and predictive.
Actions detrimental to stock car racing, right? Just a generic rule it's a cover-all, right?
It's the nefarious tactics rule, right? And I would love to find out who came up with it first, because it's also in the Major Series rule book, and they said on their podcast basically don't do it, even though it's been taken care of now through the patch. But things like this, they're going to get found, and it's okay for there to be consequences after the fact. You don't have to jump iRacing's case for not predicting every possible way of cheating that exists out in the world.
Well, again, I think we also talked. I think the only way you ever get around that is to have some sort of post-race inspection. But again, I just don't know
very
if that's
specific.
possible. I know that's what I'm
also
saying.
Very specific.
It is.
What would that do about driving down the grass?
No, I got you completely. Yeah, no, that's what I said. I mean, that's the issue with exploits is they're out there, and it's the spirit of the rule that you're breaking.
And so what I didn't understand is that they actually towed after they towed from on grid, right? They didn't start in the pits, which might have been I guess I don't know if that would have been different or not, but by towing they saved a lot on the time penalty, essentially because of the fact that the grid was having to drive a little bit before. I don't know how long the start or the pace lap is before it gets going at Nürburgring. But by towing, they got an advantage that way as well.
I don't know. One of the other podcasts I listened to, I think they estimated that speed difference was going to be, could have been as much as 5 seconds a lap. So when you take 24 hours, 5 seconds a lap, that was the gain that they were going to end up having. So at the end of the day, you would make up whatever you had lost.
Well,
Certainly, but
do it
it's
real
an
quickly.
8-minute lap.
Yeah, but they weren't. From what I figured, they weren't 8 seconds behind. They didn't start too far behind.
Yeah, and when they got booted, they were already working their way through traffic. All right. Well, this guy has not been accused of cheating as of yet. Wilson makes it 2 in a row. Mike.
Yep. So we got a Coke race, and it always seems to be Tucker Minter, Steven Wilson. These guys are just hot, and I mean, can you have more momentum than that? Now, I didn't actually get to see the race. The post race, we did hear that Logan Clampett is going to be set down for a race. Not sure what he did wrong, but they certainly didn't publicize it like they did the Blake McCandless thing. And I thought I'd bring that up. Why was the Blake McCandless thing so public on social media? And I can't find anything about Logan Clampett and why he got set out.
I know, I can't either, and I've been looking for it as well.
So why is there such an inconsistency there?
I don't know. I don't. Was Clampett over on penalty points? Do we know that? I mean, was he in danger via the penalty points?
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
They've announced that, though, before in the past, if somebody was sitting out for that reason.
Oh, the way we heard about it was through Logan's team, and they announced a replacement driver. I forget who it was.
Matthew Morton.
Right.
Well, I guess that gives us, if we go ahead and start talking segment 3 standings, Steven Wilson is leading that one at 47 points, with Zach Novak and Seth DeMerchant right behind him. Also, Steven's at the top of the overall standings with 5 wins, with Tucker 3 wins, Bobby Zielinski at 1 win, Colin Keister with 1 win, and then 5 through 5th place with no wins is Zach Novak. The bubble right now is Donovan Strauss at +8 with Dylan Alt at -8. And so, what are these other? What's this other additional standings? This is new. Team standings and rookie
standings. Oh, interesting. So rookie of the year looks like Blaze Crawford is leading there. And as far as the team goes, Spire, then Channel 199. Who, by the way, Channel 199, thank you for all the love in the stream today. He gave me a bunch of gifts. And then Atlassian Williams, third.
That's cool that y'all added that, Brad. Those are interesting additional stats. So yeah, below we have the iRacer GG report, and it just says that the decision has been made after being informed that Clampett will have to serve a 1 race suspension, and they don't say why. So that's curious. Okay, Brad, this next one is definitely for you. Are the new tires worth the hype?
Yes, we got a video from Dave Cam, and this was pretty interesting. He takes and he's comparing pre-build, post-build with the GT3 cars. He had done a video, I guess, some time ago, and had run 10 laps at Sebring, pushing hard, and then takes with the new tire model, does the same thing, pushes hard, kind of walks you through some of the differences there. As far as time goes, I don't think it was a ton of difference, but again, I think we're just getting some more confirmation with the GT3s that this is a good, it's a good change. You know, the cars are a bit sketchy, pretty sketcy on the first couple out laps, which I know the GTP guys have been dealing with. Very, very understeer on any car that is a mid-engine to a rear engine. So like your Ferraris, Corvettes, and even the Porsche, there's just no front grip those first two laps. Mustang, Mercedes, much better because you got some weight on the front. But this was an interesting video. Like I said, he just takes it and kind of compares them, and he's happy with it. I've been happy with it, and what testing I've done, I haven't had a chance to run a race yet. But yeah, overall, I think this was a success for the change.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Dave or somebody else who said that when you have a moment on the tires, like if you slide your tires or something on the old setup, you would be punished the next 3, 4, or 5 corners. With this one, you're not. Like you recover right away. The next corner, you're right back to it.
Yeah, if you had a bad slide in one corner, when you knew going to the next one, you had to back off because otherwise you're going to loop the car. I mean, just because it was a heat issue was the problem. And the other thing I noticed too was just a little bit more forgiveness of the car. I mean, there were slides I was able to catch that I have prior to the build. Forget it, you'd never catch it. It was going around.
Interestingly, they're saying the same thing about the new tire on the Cup car. They were talking about it a lot today in Pocono, that it recovers from heat a lot faster. Now, being able to recover from a slide is a whole different story, but heat is not as much of an issue on in the new Cup tire either.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, the next gen it's on a knife's edge anyway. That's the problem. I mean, I spun out last night at Pocono. I got a little behind in my steering coming out of the tunnel turn, and then just got into that death wobble. You know, and it's just like you just couldn't catch it. But you're on a knife's edge with that anyway, and that's the way that car is. Fundamentally, it's on an edge.
Yeah, and then A open, I pulled down way far to the inside wall to avoid an accident, and then when the yellow didn't come out, I turned right to go get back in position to enter the next corner, and spun out by just turning right too much. Kind of in the same way that the guy that was accused of intentional caution happened. Except I was not losing positions. I was just trying to get back to the outside lane. But it looks like a good update. I know William has had a lot of positive things to say about it as well. I think he discussed it on last week's episode, in fact. All right, Mike, what does the future of sim racing look like?
Yeah, great video here by Marcus Solholm on YouTube, and he talks about what is the future of sim racing, and he has a conversation with this guy, the Red Bull sim racing guy. What's his name? Brad, do you remember? The guy who got a chance in the Red Bull F1 car.
Yes, you had to ask me. Give me a second.
Yeah, so you'll come up with a name in a minute. But anyway, he has an interview with him. He asked him some questions about iRacing and specifically, and they talk a little bit about Assetto Corsa, but
Sebastian Job.
Sebastian Job, that's right. So he has Sebastian Job weigh in on these topics, which I feel like he's qualified, and I think the outcome of the video is the future is bright. There's a lot going on. We talk about it all the time on this show. The integration between real racing and sim racing is tighter than ever.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed it before. I mean, guys that are coming up on sims, they can literally you can turn thousands and thousands of laps versus somebody who's doing it in a real car. You can't do that. So the amount of repetition they've got is so much more. And again, like you said, Mike, there's no track, like take NASCAR. There's no track testing anymore. It's all sim work ahead of the weekend. That's all you do. And if you don't get the sim right when you roll out the truck, there ain't a whole lot of changes you can make. what he discusses the COVID boom. I think it's what David was getting to, had alluded to earlier. You know, the COVID boom was a very. I think I wasn't back on the sim during that time, but I think it's probably a good bad thing. I think it has definitely helped the industry, especially iRacing. I don't think iRacing would be in as good of a spot today as it was if it wasn't for COVID.
But it does show that even after the boom, the growth continued. There was one drop, and then it just kept going up right after that. Same upward trend that was going on before the boom.
Yeah, well, I think as you continue to see real guys turn into ambassadors for sim racing. I mean, Max Verstappen, he's very outspoken about it. Dale Jr., Carson Hocevar streaming continually. I mean, it's just those are the things that we need to continue to to show off that this community is. It's not. Yes, is it a video game? Yes, but it's more than that.
All right, Brad, get your horse beating stick out. Our division split's getting worse.
Yeah, I've got a forum post here from Benjamin Haxon, and talking about I guess season 3, when division splits were done. So I brought this up in our chat. I was absolutely floored to realize that a 3280 in oval throws me into Division 1 in the A car for this season. Yes. What chance in Hades do I have of being competitive?
I did some paperwork on this a while ago, just out of boredom. I don't know if you guys remember when I was posting the sheets about how ridiculous some of the iRating gaps are and are not in the splits.
So the thread is pretty extensive, and immediately someone throws up, the old conventional, which is the way that we thought it worked. Everything was just kind of broken down by segmented segments of iRating. Well, it's not anymore. Apparently, in the release notes for season 3, it says the iRating and time trial rating values that define the separate divisions are now computed individually for each racing category, based on user participation in the previous season. This should result in a more even distribution of competitors into each division. Okay, I get it. When you look at the spectrum of people that are racing, yes, the bulk of iRating is probably going to be on the lower end. So you can't, I guess that's the excuse. I don't really get it, because again, there's no fun for me to try to compete for a 12-week season with a 30 coming into the 3,200 iRating when I'm racing guys that are 7,000 and 8,000. I mean, I looked at week 1. The guy that's leading has, one race, 365 points. That would take me 2 weeks to get those points, and I can't do that if he's going to get it in 1 week.
Yeah, devil's advocate though. What have you ever seen a bell curve? It's not the majority is in the low splits. The majority is actually in the middle, like around.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Right? As you start to come up, I mean, it's where the heaviest concentration of racers are.
So that's why those iRatings in those divisions are going to be closer. The way they divide it, I don't know what you're talking about with the changes in season 3, but ultimately when they do the cuts, they take the top 10%, and the top 10% of the drivers go to Division 1. So you're in the top percent.
That's not how it used to work.
Yes, it is. They split it up 10%. They put the same number of drivers in each division. So that's why it's so much more compact.
I proved they didn't with that sheet.
Well, how far different were the numbers?
It was pretty glaring. On the top end, it was a lot less drivers than in the middle.
So there were fewer drivers in the top division.
So Vern Cluckus, he posted.
Yeah, but the range was pretty huge.
The numbers that it's been for years, and the cutoff, it was at 3,500 for Division 1, Division 2, 2,283, Division 3, 1,713. He's got all these written down.
Correct, but that's not how it is anymore, because if you go down 2 more posts, that's where the references the changes that were made for season 3.
Right. And so now it's different. Like you said, 3,200 is now in Division 1 instead of it was 3,500 or above. And I see Brad's point. Like, it's hard to compete, with the 7 to 10,000 guys, and is it really fair? So, do they need to look at this from a human point of view instead of just dividing it up evenly? Like, okay, this is oval racing. We know there's X amount of 6 to 10,000 guys. Maybe we make Division 1 100 people instead of 400, and do something like that. So we can have these people that are in the 3 and 4,000 can race each other or something.
Yeah, but you got guys in Division 3 and NIS that are well at like 3,500. And that's, I'm higher in points and I'm just around 2,000.
Well, that's an anomaly, though. That's
it's not. If you look at the gap range in all those divisions, it's roughly the same. It's a huge gap.
Yeah, so it's like the start of season 2. After season 1, I had got my sports car license up to, I think, just shy of 2,500. So, start of season 2, I start the season and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm up in Division 2. Oh my gosh, I'm racing guys that are, 3 and 4,000 I rating. Guess what? Completely discouraged. I didn't even finish the season. I was completely discouraged because, again, it's something to try to compete for those 12 weeks. And if you feel like you can be somewhat competitive, that encourages me to keep racing.
Well, and two, look at the longer seasons that are trying to promote now. That 12-week gets magnetized by, 3?
But take a look at the iRacing sports car distribution graph that's posted a little bit further down by Ade Allen. And look at how tall the 1,300 range is. And then if I look around 2,800, I could take all of those other boxes and they wouldn't stack up to be that tall. So I do still believe that the top division is the top 10%. I think that they divide it roughly equal numbers of drivers. So, but I could agree with the argument. Maybe Division 1 should be just the top 5%.
Well, if you go down to the post below, you'll see what the split is for GT4 last season, with Division 1 being only 4% of the drivers, 875, D2's 8, and then it just progresses up from there. And then again, it gets lower as you go down. I don't know. It's just the whole selling aspect with iRacing is I'm going to stick you in with people that are like skill level so that you can compete and be successful. This goes right back to what we discussed with the stupid, let's run 4 races an hour. And then, so you end up with less splits and a guy jumps in with a 1,500 I rating and he's racing against someone with a 7,000 I rating because there's only one split that time.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at that post now, and I bet you the GT4, that the division setting was based on the previous year, and probably what's happening is you don't have as many Division 1 drivers actually participating in the series. If you get what I'm saying, like most of those guys are probably going to be spending more of their time running IMSA than the GT4.
So, do we like the change? Yes or no? I would say no.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, I don't. Again, I was shocked that I was in Division 1. Just shocked.
It needs to change. I just don't know if that's it.
Well, what was your I rating when you got bumped in?
3,280.
Okay, when I was 3,500, I was in Division 1 and NIS for a whole year.
Should you get bumped to division if your I rating gains X percentage in a season?
That sounds like a Tony argument.
No, I mean
he's in favor of that, actually. I don't think you should penalize. I don't think you should penalize somebody who's so new coming in, because sure they're going to get better. The problem is we've talked about it before. iRacing let a dude a couple of years ago just intentionally tank in January.
They've done a lot because I've showed it multiple times iRacing and nothing's been done about tanking. It's why I really don't even run 12 weeks anymore. I just don't care. I have no shot at a championship, so who cares?
So if they're dividing it by 10%, I don't know that really has drastically changed much, but yeah, you could argue maybe make the Division 1 more elite, 5%, 3%. But Brad, at 3,200, you are part of the top 10%.
I don't feel like it.
Well, I mean, you look at that graph and you can see how few drivers there are at the 4,000 range and the 5,000 range. There's just not that many of them. So when you got to think of it, I'm talking as a statistical nerd here now more than, how it feels. But yeah, there's just not that many drivers up there. So you're top 10%. You're in the elite. You're not the elite, but you're in the elite.
It's got to be a higher number than 10% in the top one, the Division 1.
You think there's more than 10% of the drivers?
Yes.
I disagree. You'll have to math that out.
I have shown it.
I look at that chart. Well, I look at that chart and I don't see it. I don't. There's just those bars are so short. You could stack them up, and they don't match the 1,200 division.
You probably need to look at a lot more series together, and especially more popular ones like NIS.
Well, I think they could drop the percentage, but congratulations on being a part of the top 10%, Brad. All right, we have Sim Gaming Expo news. Of course, don't forget you can put in our discount code IRLP10. Get your tickets. I've got my room reserved. I know that I'm going to be up there on Thursday night, and I've got Mr. Alonso looking for a jazz club for us to hang out at Thursday night before everything really kicked off going, if possible. And then, Brad, we have some exhibiting announcements. This one would definitely be appropriate. It really should say Sim Racing Dad Bods, not just dads, but go ahead.
Yeah, so Sim Racing Dads is going to be there. They are Sim Race Dads is built for those balancing family life and a passion for racing, helping busy dads stay connected to the world of sim racing through community support, product recommendations, and exclusive deals. So the first I've heard about them, I have not checked it out. So I'm empty nester now, so I guess I'm still a dad, but not quite as active as I was as a dad. So we do have some younger guys on the team, so maybe they need to take a look at this.
And we got a video with George and the Sim Pit. Do an interview of George about the Sim Gaming Expo. Sean and Amir from the Sim Pit did a fabulous job really telling the community we need to come out for this show. We need to support George in this effort. He's put his money on the line when nobody else would step up. And this is our chance in the United States to put the sim, racing on the map and get this thing started. And, kudos to Amir and Sean for just spreading the word and like we do here at the iRacers Lounge about this show. And I'm certainly looking forward to it. They talk a lot more about he's going to have rigs set up for racing and there's going to be tournaments going the whole time. And I'm like, man, we need a podcast tournament. We need I want to take these guys on,
Has iRacers said they're going to be there?
Nope.
I thought they did.
I don't think they're officially listed anywhere. I've never seen it.
No, they are not.
Interesting.
It is very.
All right. Well, that brings us to events. We have the Majors 24 coming up. We've already talked about that a little bit. They've had a couple podcasts put out. They've got pre-qualifying going on. It's not too late to register, and they've even got a channel on their Discord where you can call free agents where you can find a team if you need. And we're going for those coins. They put out a weather report. We're going to start in the dry. And based on everything they've been saying, I feel confident that it's going to get wet, but it's not going to become flooded and unrealistic. They've done They've been testing different rain conditions and taking a lot of feedback, and so you're going to have to slow down, but it's not going to be completely uncontrollable racing. It's going to be interesting where you're having to it's going to be right in that zone where you're focusing on whether or not you should be on a dry or wet tire for a lot of the time, which is going to create a lot of excitement.
So I'm hearing this is the only 24 hours of Le Mans. Like iRacing is not going to do one themselves. Is that right?
Yeah, we didn't cover this last week, and I didn't really even discover it until I heard about it on the Majors podcast. You know how in the past they would switch the 6-hour endurance racing series to 24 hours during season 3 as a way to sneak in a Le Mans 24, even though it was not officially the Le Mans 24. Remember that?
We've done that for 2 or 3 years.
Yep, they're not doing it this year. I went and checked the schedule. That season's staying at 6 hours this year.
I wonder if the Le Mans Ultimate people caught on.
Well, the Majors 24 does a better job, and there's nothing the Le Mans Ultimate people can do about it. And I think it's just that the participation in the 24-hour series was very poor, because other than the 24-hour race, all of the other ones, the 24-hour races for all the other races to that season were very low.
I'm not talking about the league one. I'm talking about iRacing as a whole.
I know. But I'm saying that might be the reason. But I'm saying the more likely reason is because the participation last year in the 24 hours of Monza and the 24 hours of one of them was Daytona. I think one of them was Silverstone. Those turnouts were really low. So I think they just decided it was better to leave it at 6 hours, especially since we have the Majors 24 doing so well now.
Well, that, and you're basically, I think they were on a every other week schedule. So you're trying to get teams to run 24-hour race every other week is tough.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I don't think the Majors has any effect on what iRacing does.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it's a successful event takes a little bit of the pressure off of them or takes away the motivation for them to do the 24-hour season. All right, we also have the iRacing Race for the Cure. Tell us a little about that one, Mike.
Yeah, just put it on your calendar. August 13th is the Multiple Sclerosis Society charity event. And it's GT3 cars at Lime Rock for 2 hours of solo or team racing.
And Brad, I know you're already getting together a team for the 6 hours at the Glen.
Yep, we're just about a week and a piece away. So it's the weekend of June the 27th to 28th. 6 hours, the Glen, the normal time slots. 5 slots starting Friday at 2200 GMT. So Watkins Glen. So this will be the full IMSA stable. So GTP to the Delara P217, which is your LMP2, and then the your GT3s or GTDs, whatever you want to call them, your class. So should be fun. Yeah, we're trying to get a team together. Probably gonna have 4 guys, so that's gonna make it a little of a challenge. See which 2 guys want to do 2 hours and which 2 guys just want to do an hour.
Or one of you could come run a GTP. Did you mention? I looked away for just a second. Did you mention there were 5 time slots instead of 4?
Yeah, it's 5 time slots.
Okay. Yeah, so since it's only 6 hours, they have room to squeeze in that extra time slot on Sunday 0 GMT, which is Saturday night for us. All right, that covers all the special events. Anything else on the what? Well, they changed the title. iRacing Weekly Tune-In.
They've added, so now we have an iRacing Weekly Tune-In every week. So yeah, this popped up this week. So I anticipate them doing this every week. Justin Malillo. So it kind of gives you a nice recap of what's going to be on as far as available to watch, whether it's on the iRacing channel or even these are some league stuff that's broadcast on different things. So from the race spot with the Radical Cup to the iRacing Classic Lotus by the GSRC. So pretty neat. Options for to kind of get you up to date everything that's happening over the course of the next week, eNASCAR and whatnot. So very cool. And then what's happening this week? We touched on a few of them. The NIS is at Pocono. IndyCar Series is at Road America to go along with where they're at this week. And then the Cervantic Endurance Series will be at where are they at? Misano. So find a place to fit in.
Ooh, I'm going to do Ringmeister. They got the rally cars at Ringmeister. That's an interesting combo. All right, podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Get involved in our discussion at the Discord. And we have a website. It's iRacersLounge.com where you can get our show notes, literally see what we see as you listen to the show. It's very iPhone friendly, Android friendly. We are in regular rotation over at Performance Motorsports Network. And get your iRacers Lounge merchandise at iRacersLounge.shop.
All right, Brad, how do we do in fantasy this week?
All right, so the NASCAR Cup Series rolled into Mexico for the it was 100 laps at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. With Connor Truman taking the win with 221 points, followed by Cletus 545. Matt Robb 40 was third. Boats and Hose and Mike Owuju were tied for fourth.
Look, what did I say last week? SVG going to smoke them. And what happened? Oh, the biggest gap from first to second in like years. He smoked them.
However, let's make note that you say SVG is going to smoke every road course.
Yeah, you've
Yes.
said it.
Just the new ones.
He's gotten it 1 out of 6 times the last little
Yeah,
while.
he's 2 for 6. So
But look,
you're a great psychic. You're 33%.
new road courses, first time. He's 2 for 2.
So when they go to San Diego next year, you're.
I was just about to say that.
The odds on him at San Diego are going to be like you have to bet $5 to win 1.
So you're saying as long as we have a new road course, he could actually have a shot at the playoffs.
Now, what happens if they put in the first round? They put a new road course.
He might make the second.
Yeah, he did a good job. Look, I just think it's where you see his talent start to shine through. Look, he probably could have won Chicago last year had he not gotten wrecked. So I think that's probably his next best opportunity for a win is when we go back to Chicago in a few weeks.
I didn't know we go by ifs.
I think another year of Xfinity would have done him wonders.
I didn't think they pay out with ifs.
But look, Bobby, there's teams that will take a guy who can win on a road course if that's all he can win on just to get in the playoffs so they can get that sponsorship that's, that goes all year, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. There's a big difference in making the playoffs and not when a lot of these sponsorship contracts.
Well, just think he went from 31st in points or 32nd in points to...
I was like
16th.
33rd or 34th.
Yeah, so he's 16th now. Guaranteed.
And that's millions of dollars at the end of the year.
Didn't Denny say it's tens of millions?
Depends on the contract.
Mark Martin, you got Richard Petty and people like that this week saying, you know what? He shouldn't be in the playoffs. And then you get him taking a step further. We shouldn't even have playoffs. We need the 36-week points like we used to.
Cue the dead horse.
I agree with Mark Martin on that. I think it's more prestigious to win the 36-week points because
How would Mark know?
that's pretty rough.
He would have had it if it hadn't been for Richmond penalty.
What about
So,
ifs?
I was just gonna say, what about ifs again?
so
Yeah,
do
we
we
don't
need
like-
to go
we can
back
just
to
go ahead and
Mexico?
say- We don't like the format. We're going to just go ahead and say that. But as the format is right now, they play by the rules. He belongs in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't think any of us really like the format. An interesting little stat for you, though. In the playoff era, if Chat GTP can be trusted, there have been only 4 drivers who made it only on points to make it to the championship 4.
Ryan Newman was one of them.
He almost wanted to.
Yeah, Ryan and Matt Kenseth the same year, 2014. 2015, Jeff Gordon, and 2017, Chase Elliott.
Do we really
But
count the Jeff Gordon? Is that
Yeah,
not
but
the-
it was-
is that
That was after the chase. This was playoffs era.
okay?
Was it with elimination and wins and whatnot?
Yeah, championship 4. There was no championship 4 during the old chase.
We've only changed it 12 times in the last 15 years, so it's a little hard to keep up.
So do we go back to Mexico City?
Yes, they'll go back.
Yes.
It's-
2 more
apparently
years.
it's- Apparently, it's going to be somewhere else in the schedule now, though.
Yeah, the same time frame. I guess they've got the World Soccer Cup there next year.
Yeah, it's one of the cities that hosts it, probably, right? LA would have it, right?
And you got-
Additionally, Additionally, one of the biggest complaints was the fact that the haulers had to drive all the way from Michigan to Mexico.
Well, they were talking. Someone had the idea. Why wouldn't they just do Coda and Mexico back to back? Then they only have to take the road course cars.
That's brilliant, but it's also almost saturation because I bet you a lot of the same people might go to Coda and Mexico City.
Well,
we spend 3 weeks in Carolinas and Virginia.
and we also
At the West Coast
and we
swing.
also go Sonoma to Chicago to do 2 road courses again, too, type thing. They're just different areas.
Yeah, it actually is a pretty good idea. It'd be
I mean, do you run
right down there.
San Diego and Mexico and Coda all in one swing?
Too many road courses, need more ovals.
Yep.
They
What
Bring back
about
Chicago?
Chicago land needs to come back.
There you go. Well, according to Carson Hosevar's Twitch stream, it is. So we'll see what happens if he's accurate with that.
his last Twitch stream? I don't think you're going to
So what
see
is-
much on there.
So what are we losing to get San Diego then?
Probably Darlington.
yikes?
Seriously. Yeah, I bet you. I guarantee you the attendance at Darlington has not been great. You watch. Darlington will go back to one date.
They were even talking Philadelphia. Yuck.
They're trying to. I feel like they're going to have a rotation of just trying to saturate every city with a street course, kind of like what the V8 supercars do.
Well, I think
Nope.
Philly was a stadium was what they were looking at, something similar to the Clash.
What are they
So
gonna play?
Pocono, is Carson going to get his ass beat?
By who?
Ricky?
He's not going to do it unless another thing happens. Him saying he was going to get on when he got back in the States was just an empty threat.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't know why I would think that. Ricky, I mean, he waited on Kyle Busch, so he's going to get
He
it.
couldn't leave the track.
Because Kyle Busch is known for his fighting prowessness. Yes.
Well, yeah. Do you think? I don't know if Carson Hocevar exactly looks like a UFC fighter either.
He has the reach, though. He has the
Yeah.
reach.
He's a little more athletic than I would say Kyle Busch is.
I shared a stat list earlier in the week in the chat of Pocono average finishes over the last 3 years. And who do you guys like? I mean, if you look at this, it's Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, or William Byron, top 5.
Hamlin.
Yeah, where's Hamlin and Larson? They battled it out the other year with
Hamlin's in 8th.
Yeah, but if you go back pre next gen, Hamlin was very dominant there, and he didn't race. He didn't race last week, so he'll probably come back and win.
And without a blown tire, Larson would have won both of them that one year when they did the back-to-back weekend one.
Ifs.
Come on! If Brad's allowed to say an if, I can do it.
If yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think I'm happy that we only go to Pocono once. just from sitting down and watching the racing. So I'm sure the Cup guys will do much better than us guys have been doing on NIS and A Open this week. So
With the exception of a few tracks, do you guys think we should only go to most tracks once?
yes. Yeah, I do. I think your attendance is better. I think it makes the event a little bit more special. So, and there was a time where I think the fan base could support it. I mean, growing up in Richmond, again, it was a waiting list for tickets for either the spring or the fall race. It was a waiting list for years, and we'll never see those times again.
So, did we already talk standings?
Nope. So we got coming out of Mexico, we got Res Dog in the lead with 29.98, followed by Smiling Ninja in second. Third, Matt Robb, 40. Fourth, Mike Wuchu. Fifth, Mud Dog. And we'll roll on to Poca Ono.
All right, the first question in hardware software is how much? And we're looking at a Precision Sim Engineering GTFX steering wheel. So tell us about it, Mike.
Wow, $3,249. I don't get it. It doesn't have a screen. It doesn't even have an RPM, dash meter. It looks really nice. It's got some really high end looking buttons on it. But I don't understand how you can, charge over $3,000 for this wheel.
It's only 4 units made.
Whoa, maybe they can't even sell 4.
So
look,
do you want to be one of the 4 exclusive ones that are out there and probably have no hardware support if something goes wrong?
Precision Sim Engineering is known for really good stuff, but this is a little bit over the top for me.
Yeah, so it takes the inspiration from the 296 GT3 wheel. So 88 inputs on there and premium construction, 88 inputs. Let's do the math. How much per input?
Well, you have 4 knobs there, probably with 12 counters, so that's 48 right there.
This will be now. John Curley's looking for a Formula wheel, so we're gonna rule this one out.
All right, so $37 for every time you push a button. It's a lot of pit limiters.
Anybody that comes to the iRacer Lounge, that's the kind of stats you're going to get from us. Just remember that.
And the new guy's got to buy it.
Just remember that, listeners.
What's the percentage per button, though? Is it 10? Or should we narrow it to 5? Or should one button be worth 5%?
It depends. They're all the same size, though. Stop shaking your head, Greg.
All right, Bobby, I want you to take this one because you are Mr. Cable Management.
I'm not even sure where we're at right now.
No,
Okay,
this one's mine. No,
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one that Mike asked, isn't it?
yeah. So this is a review post. I was sent a few packs of these from OptimalSim.com, and they're called the Sim Strap. And I got some black ones and red ones, but look, it's a little plastic piece that you can insert into a channel of 80/20 extrusion, and it locks in. You twist it and it locks in place, and then it has a Velcro strap literally built into it that slides in through a slot through the back of it, and so it's real easy to stick cables through it. You have a new cable you need to add to it. Well, because it's Velcro, you just, undo the Velcro, add the extra cable, bring it back. So when I did the Moza brake pedal installation, I did use some of these on the rig along the front edge to try to manage the cabling. I can't tell you, these things were really nice, and I wish I had them when I did my original build. I would have definitely used them exclusively. I have a mix of other stuff, wire ties, and this Velcro by itself. These are better because it anchors it to the rig. So, look, if you're doing a new build, I highly recommend this.
Yeah, I will probably grab some of these because I typically will strip everything down once a year and kind of redo it. So I will probably grab some of these for later next year or later this year.
Looks like it streamlines everything really nicely too. If it holds it in and it kind of it's makes it look like really nice, especially if you got a rig like Mike's where he moves it around and stuff like that on his wheels.
Well, you could space these out every 12 inches or so along your extrusion, and like Brad has a lot of wires for your pucks, all on the inside of the rig, and even hanging upside down. Like if you have extrusion, you could run wires along the bottom of extrusion with these things.
Yeah, I mean I used a combination. I've got some other little 3D printed ones that click into the 80/20, and most of those have got a zip tie going through them. I do use a lot of Velcro straps, but I like stuff to be on the inside. I don't want to see it. I'm extremely anal with my cable management, but this would make things easier. Like Mike said, that's the beauty of it, is if you do need to add something, because the biggest thing I run into is the back. So, and I've got the USB power strip in the back, and I end up adding something, and then I'm like, oh crap, that's zip tied. So like most of my wires in the back coming off the USB power strip, they're all Velcro. That way, when I add something, it's just easy to add it back in.
All right. This next question is about quad views from the Pimax video, and I should have watched this one, though I'm using quad views myself. I just don't know if it's something that wasn't running on iRacing before, because I remember seeing the option before and I had it selected. So I don't know why it's suddenly a thing now. But I did make sure that I activated it for the iRacing profile, and the last couple of races have seemed to be a little bit smoother. And this is just another name for fixed foveated rendering. It's where the outskirts of your view have a lower resolution, since you're not going to be looking at them directly.
Yeah, I saw in the forums, I think people were getting higher FPS due to this change.
Did anybody watch the video?
I did not, just because I don't do VR.
Yeah, I didn't either. But look, if you have VR, you have to look into this. You need to turn it on. From what I've heard, 30% gains on FPS.
And I had done the same thing actually back on the Reverb and or maybe the Rift, that was done by just dropping in a different DLL file, whereas you can actually turn it on in the software with Pimax. All right, this next one is from Sim Magic. I think that's a Brad thing.
Yeah, they just released an update to their SimPro Manager. Just an update patch, primarily support for F125. It's just a few fixes, improvements for the GT Neo, and then for the Evo wheelbases. I just updated mine tonight, even though I'm not using one of the new wheelbases. I'll just stay up to date with the software, because I'm sure at some point firmware is going to come with it as well. So just, continued support for new products.
And the next one, none of us own Asetek, but there's an update about a 360 hertz hotfix.
Yeah, this was in response to, in the last build, iRacing offered 360 hertz support for it, and I think it caused some issues. So they had
companies.
they had to scramble and get a firmware hotfix out to address it.
Because this affected Moza as well.
And I've had force feedback problems with the Gen 4. I've had to really dial down the level because there's this heavy vibration getting in the corner. I don't know if it's related or not, but they have problems with that.
When we go to the Moza topic here, Mike, pay attention to it.
Oh, we're almost out of time, so we'll do one more.
let's hit
Moza.
two more. Let's hit two more. Let's hit both of the Moza ones.
Okay, so the Moza M booster in action with ABS. We have a nice video on Instagram from Moza showing the pedal in action. Look, I can't tell you enough how good it feels underneath your foot when you push it, because you feel the vibration of the engine. It's got that haptic, but when you get into the ABS, it's like pushing back at you almost. Like it's pretty cool how it works. But this is the best visual I've seen of the pedal in action.
It's basically the pulsation you feel in your car when you get ABS kicks in.
Yes.
I am impressed with. Look, am I regretting my $900 purchase? I'm not. I actually like it.
Are you faster?
I am in a GT3. I don't know about anything else.
Could you have been faster 80 days ago?
Not with those brakes I had.
All right, then the other Moza update is a little bit more up Greg's alley since you're running the Moza wheelbase. It has to do with the car motor vibration on Moza after the update.
Yeah, so Brad put me onto this. He found this in the topics, and there's a bunch of stuff. After that initial build, I thought something had gotten broken with the because Moza had a firmware update, and then iRacing had theirs. So when iRacing, I guess what was you're being felt when you're just sitting on pit road, you could actually feel the motor of the car when it starts up, and it would just get progressively higher vibration than you should, I guess. And for me, I'm still learning this, so I didn't realize if there was a problem. But then going into this thread, Nicholas De Sosa was talking about some concerns about it, and then there was a reply by, I guess, David Tucker got involved. But I guess when they did the update, they've done a thing, or done in the True Force part, there's actually some settings that were put in behind in the INI file that were I'm guessing they're going to have as sliders down the road for the actual new UI, that they're going to have some more sliders that are added for the force feedback. I'm just basing this off of what's been going on here. I don't have it all, but people were finding that the wheel LFE was actually the best way to solve the problem by turning it down, the main volume of it. And that's what I think. That's what I did, and I got most of the initial engine startup feel out of it, and I've got the wheel feeling a lot better. I'm still fine-tuning it as it goes here, and it sounds like there's some more people had to go back on versions of Moza's updates to fix some of it. There was a whole bunch of different problems, and it basically almost felt like it broke the Moza wheel for some people.
Yeah, so they added the effects into the wheelbase this last update. So what you're feeling is the LFE, or the low frequency effects. Same thing you would feel in haptics. So if you're running LFE support out of iRacing, you're going to get the rumble from the motor, the RPMs, and all that stuff.
Sorry, Brad. They have what they explained here is they got the body acceleration, the drive shaft, engine RPM, gear changes, rev limiter, road textures, rumble strips, and then wheel slip.
Yeah, so all that stuff is you can use it out of iRacing. So if you're running like a butt kicker, you can run your butt kicker through the LFE effects in iRacing. The issue is it's all mono. There's no channels. You can't separate any of it out. I have not. I'm using Marvin's awesome iRacing app, and he has the wheel. He has the effects going into the wheel as well. I just think they do a better job. So it's similar to what he's been doing, and my guess is this is somewhat in a response to that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this is something that's been planned for a while, But
So-
but yes, it did catch you off guard, and I get that because it is something kind of odd when all of a sudden your steering wheel starts to vibrate for no reason.
So to be clear, there's an LFE section where you can run like a butt kicker or like I do, a big speaker. But then the new thing is separate. It's an LFE wheel check mark.
Yes.
And so I thought that was my problem at the Gen 4 at Charlotte with the heavy vibration that Donnie and I were getting. So I went and turned it off, didn't change it at all. So the vibration problem I have is something else.
Turn that
You
main
probably-
volume down too.
But do you have force feed? Are you running the MyRap?
Yeah, I'm in Marvin's. Yeah.
Okay, so you have force feedback turned off. Then it's not gonna affect your wheel at all.
Okay, so that's why the check mark didn't change anything for me.
Correct.
So iRacing, if you're listening, the force feedback on the Gen 4 at Charlotte is broken in the SimiCube 2 Pro. Let's jump to results and talk NASCAR iRacing series. We have Wednesday Open NIS Pocono. David wrecked.
Yeah, it was running well, but you just can't pass here. I was using pit strategies so that at some point, in this particular case, I was just going to pit once. And I did just pit once with 45 to go because the fuel range is 40, but I figured with cautions I could stretch it. However, at some point you have to be back with the squirrels. And in this case, I got squirreled. Two guys in front of me just... the guy on the outside just turned right across the guy on the inside's nose, and there was nowhere I could go.
Brad, P5.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what a race. So started P15, kind of hung around top for about the first half of the race. Way too many yellows. But like David said, decided to finally pit at about lap 35. Which would give us 45 laps to go, which would have been fine. But ended up getting dropped. Lost connection. So got back in, lost a lap, managed to get the lap back, but ended up getting wrecked as well. So I had almost 3 minutes of damage to get fixed. So I was able to get the damage fixed, get the lap back, get back on the lead lap. Decided to stay out to get some track position, and I think I restarted fourth. Second lap of green coming through the tunnel turn, I got behind on the steering. I don't know what happened. I just lost the car. So it is what it is. Went all the way back to 16th and then was able to avoid all the carnage over the next 15 laps or so. 3 green, white checkers to finish fifth. So 15 yellows, 47 laps under caution. We're better than this. The racing has been atrocious this week. I just don't understand it. It's not that hard.
All right. And Thursday Open, Bobby, you were wrecked out.
Yeah, second time in 2 days. I just caught up in other people's crap early on, and then you're trying to recover from it. And guys are wickedly aggressive and not too smart on restarts and just cutting people off. Ended up coming across me, spinning me out, and collected a whole bunch of other people.
Justin Pearson got a P4 in top split. Wow, that's impressive. I got a P20. I had a pretty good run going. Started in the pits. I stayed in the back the first half of the race based on David and Chris' strategy. But I still got caught up in incidents. There were wrecks ahead of me, and I would go to miss it, and I wrecked myself. I had 3 minutes on the first wreck. I had 4 minutes on another one, a total of 7. The car was damaged at the end, just kind of rode around and finished P20. David, P8.
Yeah, I went ahead and started in the pits this time. I was like, I don't like doing this, but this car at this track, especially with the new patch, it's not racing. You can pretty much not pass. And so the only time any action was happening was because people were trying to pass when you couldn't, and they can't hold a line, and they were wrecking somebody. So I started in the pits and literally stayed 10 car lengths behind the pack and avoided wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck. I think we had about 50 laps of caution. And then when it got to 45 to go, I went ahead and pitted. We actually had a long green flag run. I was going to go ahead and pit at 40 to go if we stayed green, but we had a caution. So I went ahead and pitted, expecting to not pit again. But I went ahead still after that 45 to go and stayed back and said, I'm going to stay back this run, and then everybody's going to try to pit when they're inside the window, and I'll jump a bunch of positions. And that's what happened. There was another caution with like 39 to go. Everybody goes and pits. I jumped from like 24th to 14th, and then the next thing I know, another round of pits, and I'm 7th. I'm all the way up to 3rd, and it's really not passing people. It's just because people are pitting. And then on the start, the leaders get into each other, and of course I get about 40 seconds of damage from that because I get sandwiched between them. Managed to escape with only 40 seconds. I get that all fixed, and we kind of go through the same cycle again. A lot of people go ahead and pit late, or if they're fixing damage, but I've worked my way up to 8th through not pitting, and that's where I finish.
All right.
iRacing has really got it right because it's exactly like the real guys now. There's just no passing after the restarts. So
it's perfect, right? Just like the
it's realistic.
Guys.
It's very realistic.
That's what we want.
Which is why we hate the real car in real life too.
That's why I'm running Gen 4 in Season 3. And so let me tell you about it. First race of the week, started 20th out of 25. Talladega Draft Masters. Definitely less horsepower in this package, but I do get wrecked out pretty bad running up the middle in a 3 wide, 4 deep. So 3 wide, 4 deep, big old pack. Love it. Then on to the regular series at Charlotte. Ran the tires off way too hard in the first run. Second run was a lot more gentle. Got up to run as high as P5. And then I killed the wall, but I saved the car. Fell back to 14th, ended up finishing P14. Next night, ran Talladega again, wrecked out. Then to Charlotte, had a good run going, but wrecked out, was able to finish P14. Next night, Talladega again, car 21 top split out of 24. I finished P2. I was this close to having my first win in the car. Just wanted to finish at that point, but a great run. And then on to Charlotte, ended up with a P5. Great run. I was involved in 3 different cautions, but they're all really racing incidents. I was up to 12 incidents that race, but still had a nice finish, P5. A Open, Brad, P17.
Yeah, not much, not much different from NIS. Started P10, kind of ran up front all race. I think David, you in here? Yeah, well, you were in here with me. You wrecked out, didn't you? I think.
Yeah, somebody got loose right in front of me, and I couldn't avoid it.
That's right. So pitted around lap 25. Was good to go from there to the finish. So it was running P8 on a green-white checkered. Car hit me, just started to lose it out of turn 1, and I tried to get off of him. I couldn't. I mean, I was right on him, and I just ended up tapping him. And I ended up getting collected. So go from probably going to finish, P7 or 8 to finishing 17th. Again, 10 yellows. That was 31 laps under caution there. So I'm not looking forward to tomorrow night. I'm sure it's going to be a repeat of the last 2.
I already signed up for a flight mission. I'm skipping Friday.
All right, let's jump to final thoughts. Greg Hectus.
Just looking forward to running Le Mans with David and Tom this weekend. It's going to be a long shifts, but I think it's going to be interesting with the weather, and it should make it. Hopefully, there's some attrition in it for us.
Okay, and then Bobby Jonas, final thought.
When do we go to a super speedway again? I'm ready.
Next week. Have not driven the Porsche in really probably a year and a half, so I'm kind of committed. I think I'm going to try to run the Porsche all 12 weeks this season. It doesn't feel like it wants to kill me like it normally does, so that's what I'm going to try. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I already took kind of a tumble most of last season on the sports car side, so got some ground to make up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just need to get some time to get some racing in.
Okay, David Hall, final thought.
Also looking forward to the Majors 24. I'd love to actually get one of those coins. We calculated they've got over 600 drivers. That equals 24,000 credits in income. Now
Teams,
they
600 teams.
600 teams, right? But it's 40. Well, same way. It's a registration per team rather than driver. Yeah. So about 24,000. About 24,000 credits, and that's a lot. Now they're giving away a lot of credits because if you volunteer to help marshal, like review replays and such, they are allowing. They're giving those guys credits for doing so, and so also they're with 600 with 12 splits. That's 12 times 9 podium coins, right? So that I think he ordered 500 coins for the event. So they put all the money back into it. It is probably the most of the fair of the leagues that can be out there, even though I don't always agree with everything they've done. But looking forward to it. This is going to be one of those races where we're just going to have to persevere no matter how many times things go bad, because that rain is a great equalizer in some ways. So I'm hoping the fact that I can maintain control of the car in the rain pays off.
Okay, my final thought. Loving the M Booster active brake pedal. Happy that I was able to mount it so securely. I've stomped on this baby and it does not move. There is no flex at all. I also researched a little bit this week that a Formula One car, hitting the brakes real hard is about 168 kg. So I'm going to probably design a brake profile that's 168 kg, get in the Mercedes Formula One car and test it just to see what I think. Right now I'm running about 72 kilograms for the NASCAR pedal that I developed. And so I just love that I can, create a pedal for a particular car. And so I've been doing a lot of NASCAR Gen 4, so I really haven't had time to dig into it, but I think I'm going to be doing that tonight. And with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later. Okay, we got 3 title ideas. Not anybody, any others? Vote.
I think griefing the rear sounds funnier than rear grief, even though rear grief was